Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Bande Shri Gurun Deenataranam. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for our, I think this is the fourth session, I guess, right? So till now we discussed in our very first session, we discussed about what is the objective or what is the goal of our existence, why we do what we do, what is the intent behind that. And then we also discussed about what are the different obstacles that come in our way of achieving happiness, right? So we discussed about that. Then the last two sessions, we discussed firstly about the proof of existence of God, that there is a creator, there is a, maintainer, cause of all causes. And then in subsequent session we discussed as who is God, definition of God, Bhagavan. We discussed about that, one who is full of six opulences, right? One who is full of six opulences, and those six opulences are uh, fame, strength, knowledge, renunciation, wealth, beauty, all those six opulences. And then we also discussed about, what is the position of these different devtas in respect to God, how they are superior to us, but at the same time, what role they play in the creation of God. So we discussed all those kind of things. Now that we have discussed about the goal and we have discussed about, God, now the next session, rather today's session, we are going to discuss about our own self, So typically, I don't know if these thoughts come or not, but ideally they should, right? Because we are humans and humans have superior intelligence, and with that superior intelligence, we should be questioning, and we should be questioning things which take us in a positive direction. Okay. And one of the basic question that comes many a times, people bring these questions in arguments and all those things, but the question is, who am I? Sometimes people are, "Kaun hai be tu?" So who are you? Who am I? Right? But do we really know the right answer to this question? Or what is my role? Why am I even existing? What is my role in this entire ecosystem of this creation? Am I playing a particular role? And what is that role actually? Where did I come from? I know, I mean, we are all born from our respective mothers, but is that our true existence? I mean, is that our true source, or we come from somewhere else? So we'll discuss about that. Then what is my relationship with God? So if there is God and I am there, do I have any kind of relationship with him? Okay. And if there is a relationship, how do I revive that relationship with him? So these are some of the questions, that ideally we should be asking ourselves. And through this session, not just today's session, we will need at least two sessions to go through this. But in the next two sessions, we will try to answer all these questions. Okay. So the first thing we are going to talk about is, who am I? Now, to understand this answer to this question, who am I, we need to understand the context behind the question. So in Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That is the chapter in which Arjuna's lamentation is explained, that, when Arjuna asked the Lord that take my chariot in the midst of both the armies, and standing there, Arjuna started observing the armies on both the sides. Then he thought that, my God, what am I doing over here? I mean, whether I'm going to kill the Kauravas or whether my side is going to die, irrespective of whichever side dies, I am at loss, because on both ends I only see my own relatives, either my brothers, either my children in the sense, जैसे अर्जुन का खुद का बेटा था, बाकी पांडवों के बच्चे थे. Similarly, on the other side, Duryodhan had his children, and then Dushyasan had his children, and so on. So he thought, our childrens are there, my brothers are there, my uncles are there on the other side, like Bhagirath, then Salya, Mama, right? He was there. Then our grandfathers are there, like Bhishma was there, and then our teachers are there, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, these guys are there. So he thought that, is it right, what I am doing over here now, standing in the midst of the battlefield? And then all of a sudden, when that thought struck him, then he thought, my God, probably I should not be fighting actually. Probably I should just withdraw myself from this war. And then all sorts of doubts, they started haunting him in the midst of that battlefield. And he sat down on the chariot and he started posing different arguments to the Lord for not fighting. Okay, there are five different arguments. If you categorize all the arguments, there are 5 categories of arguments which Arjuna poses to the Lord for not fighting. And all this comes in the first chapter. Now, in the second chapter, so in the first chapter, the Lord does not speak. Okay, the Lord does not speak. Only there is one statement the Lord says in the first chapter, behold, O Arjuna, so कि Arjuna देखो मैं लेके आया तुमको इधर अभी देखो, see the army, behold Arjuna. That's it. The second chapter, it starts, with the Lord now start answering the questions of Arjuna. The second chapter starts with that. And in the beginning itself, the Lord chastises Arjuna. Okay. The Lord chastises Arjuna. He says, Kutasto kasmalam idam vishamay samupastitam anarya justam aswargyam kirti akarma Arjuna. That is the shloka that the Lord recites. He says that Kutasto kasmalam idam, Arjuna, from where all of a sudden, in the midst of the battle, exam में बैठने के बाद now ये सब चीजें तुम्हारे दिमाग में कहाँ से आ गई बाबा, कि ये मैं क्यों एग्जाम दूं, should I write the paper or not, that these are not the thoughts that should come during, when you sit in the examination hall. तुम एग्जाम के बाहर ये सब सोचो, अभी एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में बैठे हो ना, now you give the exam. Similarly, you're standing in the midst of the battlefield now you fight over here. Now is not the time to come, think about all those things. So kutasto kashmalam idam vishamay samupastitam, in this hour of the battlefield. And then he says, anarya justam, this arguments that you are giving me, or what you are trying, the decision that you are telling me of not fighting, anarya justam, this is not aryam, this is an-arya, this is not according to the Vedic codes. Anarya justam aswargam, that this will not lead you to the higher destination. Aswargam, akirti, your kirti will be destroyed, your fame even in this world will be destroyed. No one will think that, oh, Arjuna withdrew this battlefield just because of humbleness, or uske man mein daya aa gayi thi, and all those things. What the Kauravas are going to say, are ye dekho ye dar gaya, that kind. So kirti, you will lose your kirti also. So akirti o Arjuna. So whereupon all these thoughts are coming, right? So this is how Krishna starts the discussion. And then the first thing, okay, in the Bhagavad Gita, the first thing that the Lord explains to Arjuna is, who are we? That is where the Bhagavad Gita starts. So this topic or this subject that which we are going to discuss today is of one of the most prime important subject matter, because in this world, if you think, we do everything for our own self, only for our own self. Okay, like for example, sometimes, or rather I can ask all of you this question. How many of y'all attending this session can say you love India? How many of you love India? Everyone? Everyone loves India over here? Okay. The next question is, why do you love India? What is so great about India that you love India? You can unmute yourself.
The possible reason is like this is our motherland, and we know much more better about this land than any other land. We have attachments with this land. Our relatives, our known ones are in this place, and means, fortunately we are in a country who is like who has such values that we hardly found in other countries, which gives us a strong bonding with our uh, known ones, uh,
Okay.
because of our rituals, because of our mythology, philosophy. Means everything binds us.
Okay. Good. Good. Anyone else? Any other answer of
Because we were born in India.
why you? Sorry.
Because we were born in India.
Because you were born in India. Who gave the Rakesh? Okay. Okay. Because you were born in India. So, say for example, if you were born in a country like, say, America, so then would you love India or would you love America?
I think I would still love America because I was born over there.
Correct. What about others?
Same.
Right.
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
So now if you come to the bottom line, okay, now if you think closely, it is not that we love the other side because the other side carries something, but we love ourselves more because I am born, that love for that I is so strong that anything in relationship to that I is what I like, and anything which is not in relation to that I is something which I don't care for, right? I love my parents, I love my children, I love my friends, I love my relatives, I love my society, I love my state, I love my country, so all that my I, all that I, right? So that I is something which has a lot of attachment, affection, right? And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, Krishna is now trying to explain to Arjuna about that I, and he's trying to shift the attention of Arjuna from thinking not I as the body, but I as someone who owns that body. Okay. See now where we are getting into the discussion. We are not talking about, so Krishna is not explaining to Arjuna about the body, that is Arjuna as a body, but he is explaining or talking to Arjuna as the person who owns the body of Arjuna. Okay, there is a difference, right? Like for example, when if someone asks you a question, who are you? So what is our typical answer? Either we tell our name or we say that I am so and so, like I am this engineer, I am that doctor, I am this lawyer, or I am this businessman, salesman, whatever I am. Or we say that I belong to this state or I belong to this country. So something, all these things we say. But all these designations and things, they did not exist when I was born. For example, the day when I came out from the womb of my mother, and if I say my name is Uday, but I did not have this name Uday when I came out from the womb of the mother, but I was still existing at that point in time, right? So Uday is my name, right? But if you see all these things, my profession is this, my state is this, so everything is my. So the question is not about what is yours. The question is about who are you. The question is, when you say my, who is that my that you are referring over here? Okay, so that is what we are going to try to understand. So that is just a context. So who am I? Okay, so now in the early years of the 20th century, a scientist, okay, he analyzed the constituents of human body. तो हमारा जो human body है, उसने पूरा human body का सब constituents ये किया. जैसे ना अपन अलग अलग tablets खाते हैं, हड्डी बनाने के लिए कैल्शियम चाहिए, ये बनाने के लिए फास्फोरस चाहिए, वो बनाने के लिए विटामिन बी चाहिए, दिस चाहिए, दैट चाहिए. So he came up with a good list of contents. अगर if anyone wants to know कि what we are made of, this is what we are made of: calcium, iron, phosphorus, water content and other substances. ऐसा पूरा उसने एक क्वांटिटी वाइज क्वांटिफिकेशन किया है कि इतना % कैल्शियम, इतना % आयन, इतना % phosphorus, water content and other substances. Okay, in the year 2000, when I saw this report was published. That time the cumulative cost of all these substances, okay, the cumulative cost of all these substances at that point was 180 rupees. Okay, with inflation the price might have increased. It might have gone, say, even 10 times. 1800 rupiya ho gayi hogi. But do we think that we are worth 1800 rupees only, or are we worth much more than 1800 rupees? Because if we think that I am made out of all these chemicals only and this is what is me, then my worth is only 1800 rupees. So say for example, if your friend is driving on a highway using a Mercedes and he meets with an accident, so will we endeavor to save our friend or the Mercedes? Obviously our friend, right? But the worth of Mercedes is much more than 1800 rupees. The value of Mercedes is much more than 1800 rupees. Then what kind of logic it is that I am still interested in saving my friend rather than the Mercedes? Because my friend is much more valuable than that Mercedes also. That means he contains something at that point in time. He contains something at that point in time which is worth more than 1800 rupees, worth more than these chemicals. Okay. So there was this one doctor in Canada, Dr. Bigelow. You can search for this Dr. Bigelow in Google. Okay, he is a Canadian doctor. He was rather Abhinay Zinda, but a Canadian doctor. This doctor, he did a research for 30 years. 30 years he did research. And what did he research on? His research was all about monitoring a person at the time of death. Okay, at the time. So whenever a person was dying, इसको फोन जाता था कि ये मरने वाला है अभी थोड़ी देर में, तो ये जाके उधर बैठ जाता था वो बंदे के नीचे. एंड सब कैमरा वैमरा सब कुछ लगा के, कंप्यूटर्स, ईसीजी, दिस दैट, सब कुछ लगा के वो बैठ जाता था उधर. And he used to monitor what are the changes that are happening at the time of death. And after monitoring thousands of people dying at the time of death over a period of 30 years, he published a research report. And in that research report, he writes, okay, and this research report is available for reading. If you read, we have a book called The Science of Self-Realization. In that book, this report is printed. So he said, in my 30 years of research, what I have identified is there is something in the body. Okay, there is something in the body which leaves at the time of death, And then he says, however, I am not able to conclude what that thing is. So first thing he said is, I am not able to conclude what that thing is. Second thing is, he is saying, I don't understand the position of that thing because it seems to be everywhere in the body. ऐसे लगता है कि वो एक कई जगह पे नहीं है, सब हर जगह पे है, तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि जाता है तो कहां से जाता है. All of a sudden it just vanishes and it seems it's there everywhere in the body. So this is the report he published, a vague report but something very interesting. This report, when it was read by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada responded to this report. He said that, my dear Dr. Bigelow, you have done a wonderful research, but let me tell you, as per our scriptures, it is very clearly articulated that something that you are referring is nothing other than the soul. The soul is the entity when leaves the body, the person dies. So this soul is what we are going to try to understand. Okay. So now if we have to take a very simple analogy to understand the soul. So just like there is a car, okay, the car, now understand this car in relation to our body. Okay, ये जो हड्डी मांस की जो body हम लोग देखते हैं रोज आईने में. So the car has a petrol tank which it consumes. Similarly, हमारा पेट है. We consume food, car consumes petrol. Okay. The car has headlights, we have eyes. Okay. The car has tires, we have hands and legs to move around. Okay. Then the car has radiators and the car has air conditioners and all those things, and we have our nose through which we breathe in air and blah blah blah. So all these things, externally if you see, a car can be imagined just like a human body. Okay, but in spite of having everything, unless and until a driver sits in the car and drives the car is not going to move. Now, I mean, someone might say, "Arey, kya baat karte ho? Abhi Tesla ne, they are coming up with this automated cars and all those things," right? But still, even if it's an automated car, that automation program or that automation control is done. भले वो outside the car है, but it's still done by some person, right? So it still has a driver. Bhale wo is not sitting inside, but is outside the car. But eventually, it is the driver who is responsible for moving the car. As long as the driver is there, the car will move. If the driver is not there, but all connections are working in the car, still the car will not move. Only when the driver starts the car moves. Similarly, everything might be present in our body. Everything present in our body, brain hai, heart hai, blood is there, everything is there, hands, legs, everything are intact. But if the soul is not in this body, then the body is considered dead. What is the difference between a dead and a living being? Difference is the soul is missing in that body. Okay, the soul is that valuable entity which gives value to this dead body, otherwise this dead body, it is only a bag of blood, mucus and stool. It stings, it is full of dirt actually. सिर्फ उसके ऊपर एक चमड़ी का एक पैकिंग लगाया गया है which looks very attractive, but other than that, if the skin anytime tears, you will see all the dirt in our body. We see, right, blood, mucus, ये देखा नहीं जाता हमसे वो सब. Okay, but उसके ऊपर चमड़ी लगा दिया है इसलिए it looks very attractive. But this body is actually attractive not just because of its looks, but it is attractive because of the life present inside the body. The life present inside the body. See, another example I'll give. Hair, right? The hair of our body. So many a times, our spouse, like normally girls have very beautiful hair. So husband might tell the wife that, you have such beautiful hair, such silky hair, such soft hair, they look so beautiful on your head. He might describe that. अब wife को अगर प्यार आ गया मान लो, and वो बताती है कि my dear husband, since you love my hair so much, from tomorrow तुम्हारे खाने में मैं 2-4 डाल के भेज दूंगी खाना तुमको. So what will be our reaction? That hair, the same hair which the husband is praising and liking and loving, That same hair, if it falls in the food, it is very disgusting. Why? Because as long as the hair is connected to the body, okay, as long as the hair is connected to body or life, the hair is beautiful or it is valuable. But the moment the hair falls off, then that same hair, no matter how silky or beautiful hair it was, it has no value. Rather, it is a piece of dirt which no one wants to keep. They just want to put it in a dustbin. Okay. So same is with the body also, actually. There was this one lady, actually, one of my friends, he had told this incident long back to me. He was in Mumbai, and his friend, uh, so his friend and his wife, they were also staying in Mumbai at that point in time. They did not have any kid or anything like that. And all of a sudden, at around late in the night, around 11 or 12 o'clock, the husband, uh, he got a stroke and he died on the spot. So that time, this wife, she called my friend and she said, "Can you come urgently?" And my friend went over there, and he went over there and he saw that, oh, this fellow is dead. Body thanda pad gaya tha. So they immediately knew he's dead. Ab kya karenge? Matlab, it was almost like midnight time, and they couldn't, call anyone because all the relatives were staying in the village and that kind of thing. So even if they inform them, it would take some time over there. So my friend said that anyways, abhi to kuch kar nahi sakte hai. So they just placed the dead body somewhere in the hall. And the friend said, ek kaam karte hain, anyways, abhi to we can't do anything. So he told her that you go and sleep, and I'll come tomorrow morning and then we will do the necessary whatever. She said, no, 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 no. I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep in this house now. Please. I mean, I will come with you to your home and I will be there, but I cannot stay alone in this house. So my friend said that, my God, for so many years, this same body of this person, which is lying in front of you, you are happily sleeping with him for so many years. But today, all of a sudden, the same body has become very dreadful to you. The same body has become very scary to you. You don't even want to stay in the house with that body. So what is that is missing over there, right? It's a thought, right? So Shankaracharya, he writes in Bhaja Govindam prayers. He says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. In that he explains this whole phenomena. He says that when the soul is present in the body, people will touch your feet. But the same soul, when leaves the body, even by mistake, if they touch that body, they will go and take a bath because they feel they have become impure. That is the difference. So that is the value that the soul brings to this dead body. So the first important thing that we should understand is that we are not this body. Okay, we are not this body. So every morning, जिसको हम लोग आईने में देखते हैं, right? जो मुखड़े को हम लोग आईने में देख के संवारते हैं, and we take care of that and all those things, that is not we. That is only the covering. Actually, we don't see the soul. You are the Atma, which is within this body. But what we see is only the external cover. And our entire life is spent only on taking care of this cover. Yeah, our temple president, Radhesham Prabhu, he has written a book on this discover yourself. And in that, he had mentioned that this body of ours, which we are carrying, this body is called a Purna Diwala bank. He said, imagine if there was a bank and that bank would advertise very nicely with big hoardings and nice pamphlets and nice announcements, and the body would say that, my dear friends, we are one of the best banks in this world, and we request that you put all the money that you have, all the earnings that you have, you put in us, okay, invest in us, and we guarantee you that at the end we will return you nothing. We will return you nothing. So which foolish person would invest in such a bank? But unfortunately, we all are investing in such a bank, and that bank is none other than our body. The entire life, we only think of our body and anything in relation to this body. The entire life we only spend for maintaining our body. The entire life we only spend on, giving happiness to the body. But at the end, the same body, we carry nothing from this body. It is burnt and, burnt into ashes. But the soul who is sitting inside the body, we hardly think about what he needs. We only think about what the body needs. मतलब it is like driver भूखा है, सिर्फ गाड़ी को पेट्रोल दिया जा रहा है, ड्राइवर ने कुछ खाना नहीं खाया है, क्योंकि ड्राइवर का खाना is not petrol. The body needs roti, chapati, dal, pizza, जो भी लगता है वो body को लगता है. But there is also the driver sitting in the body, that is the soul, and that soul is us. So when I say that, who am I? I am that soul in the body, that I also need some food. Okay, it also needs a particular type of food, and that food is not made out of, wheat, bajra, jawar, rice, and all that thing. It's a different kind of food. So one should inquire what that food is, which makes this, soul active. Okay. But our entire focus, till date always has been only on the external. And that is what Krishna is trying to explain Arjuna, that Arjuna, what you are lamenting right now is all relation to the external. That is not anything related to the internal. Okay. That is the soul. Okay. Now, since we just kind of talked about the soul, so we should understand there is a certain nature of this soul, and one of the nature of the soul is eternality. Like for example, if we had to draw differences between this body and the soul, so the body is temporary in nature, right? Because ये body at some point in time dwindles, खत्म हो जाता है, right? हम अपने like with age हमारे शरीर पे सुर्खियां पड़ती है, then over a period of time different organs will start failing, and at some point in time everything will stop and the body will be destroyed, right? So the body perishes, but the soul by nature is eternal. The body changes, the soul does not undergo any change. That is the nature of the soul. Okay, the soul is eternal by nature, it does not undergo any change. Okay, the nature of the soul is it always wants to be happy. The body is a place of miseries, अलग अलग के तकलीफें देती है, but the soul by nature is eternal happy. Now because of this, since we are not the body but we are the soul, that is why we try to look. And what is our nature? Our nature is eternality, because the soul is eternal by nature. It is happy by nature, blissful by nature, always happy by nature. So what the soul always looks in everything is happiness, because uska swabhav hai wo. By nature the soul is happy. The soul by nature is eternal. That is why everything, हर चीज में हम लोग परमानेंसी देखते हैं. Even when we try to buy something, हम लोग पूछते हैं इसका वारंटी कितना भैया, ये कितना दिन चलेगा. We always want eternality. We always want something to last, especially if it's a good thing, we want it to last forever actually, so that nature is the nature of the soul. There are some couple of stories actually in the Shastras which talk about what eternality is. Okay, so there is one story about Indra. Once upon a time, this is mentioned in one of the Puranas, that this Indra. So why we talk about Indra is okay. For this now I have to explain you something. I have to explain you time ka. Just give me. I'm going to go a little bit off from this topic now, just to give you the context of this whole thing. Okay. and let me know if you can see this. मेरा एक्सेल शीट दिख रहा है आप लोगों को?
Yes,
हाँ.
जी प्रभु जी.
Okay, okay. So now we live on a plane. ये पूरा जो ब्रह्मांड का जो क्रिएशन है, मान लो एक ऐसा गोल अंडा है, ओके, क्रिएशन का. And in this creation there are different layers, okay. The layer which we live is called as earthly layer, okay. At the same time there is also a heavenly layer. हेवनली लेयर कौन सा है? जहां पर ये देवता लोग रहते हैं, इंद्र, चंद्र, वायु, वो लोग इधर रहते हैं. एंड देन देयर इज ब्रह्मा का, दिस इज लाइक द टॉप मोस्ट लेयर, ओके. अब हम लोग ये अर्थली लेयर पे रहते हैं. हम लोगों का जो लाइफ स्पैन होता है वो नॉर्मली 100 ईयर्स होता है. मतलब यू नो, अगर तुम हट्टे कट्टे रहे एंड सब कुछ अच्छा बादाम काजू खा के जिए एंड नॉन पोल्यूटेड एयर लिया and all those things, then probably you might live a good 100 years of life, okay. But we'll take with the assumption 100 years. जो heavenly living beings होते हैं उनका लाइफ होता है 100 years. मतलब इंद्र, चंद्र, वायु, ये लोग जो होते हैं ना, उनका जीवन भी 100 years का होता है. They also live for 100 years. And हमारे जो ब्रह्मा जी है, he also lives for 100 years. So all three, इनका लाइफ स्पैन जो है वो 100 years है, okay. So then one might think, great, I mean, you know, तीनों same level पे है. No, but there is a relativity of time over here. The 100 years, मतलब जो हमारा लाइफ स्पैन है, that is not equal to the heavenly, and this heavenly is not equal to Brahma's, okay. And just to understand that, for example, many a times अगर आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि खास करके बारिश के मौसम में नियर आवर लैम्प, बल्ब, ट्यूबलाइट जो घर के बाहर जलता है, या स्पेशली द स्ट्रीट लैम्प्स, यू सी दोस कीड़ास, राइट? दे आर कंटिन्यूअसली मूविंग अराउंड दोस लैम्प्स. नाउ दिस कीड़ा ये रात में पैदा होता है एंड बाय नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग ही डाइज. बाय द नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग ही डाइज, ओके. हम लोग तो सो जाते हैं, but in that entire 12 hours of our sleep, this कीड़ा has gone through the entire life cycle. मतलब वो अंडे से बाहर आया है, पप्पा ने उसका शादी किया है, उसने बच्चे पैदा किए हैं, बूढ़ा हो गया है एंड सवेरे तक वो मर गया है. So that means his 100 years, okay, of the worm नहीं, insect के जो 100 years है, he has spent in 12 hours of human life. मतलब मेरे 12 घंटे में उसने अपने 100 साल जी लिए हैं. मतलब whatever he could achieve in 100 years, you know, he has completed that, and for me that time was only 12 years. Similarly, 1 year, 1 year of earthly planet is equivalent to 1 day and night of देवता, मतलब ये इंद्र चंद्र, राइट? तो बेसिकली मेरा एक साल जब खत्म होता है तो इन लोगों का एक दिन खत्म होता है. तो मेरे जब 100 साल खत्म हो जाते हैं, मतलब मैं मर गया, तब तक देवता लोगों का पूरा एक साल भी खत्म नहीं होता है. ओनली 100 days they have completed. Only 100 days they have completed. Okay. So my 100 years are equivalent to देवता लोगों का. अगर मैं देखूंगा तो for देवता that 100 years are equivalent to only 100 days of theirs. Okay. And ये जो देवता लोग हैं, okay, ये देवता so 100 years this देवता लोग जीते हैं. After 100 years they die. ऐसे 14 टाइम्स अलग अलग देवता लोग आए, मतलब 1400 years of these devatas is equivalent to 1 day of Brahma. ब्रह्मा के एक दिन में 14 बार अलग अलग देवता आते हैं, 100 years जीते हैं. So you can imagine that, you know, what is our lifespan in terms of Brahma's lifespan. Okay, I just wanted to give you ये पूरा डिटेल में ना भगवद गीता में in chapter 8 this is explained. Okay, all this calculation, this is a very complex calculation. I've just tried to simplify this calculation. Okay, but I'm just trying to tell you what it is. Now, the reason I brought that calculation is because I want to talk about this story. Okay, तो ये जो story है हमारे लोमस ऋषि का. So once upon a time इंद्रा इसको बनाना था एक महल. तो उसने विश्वकर्मा को बुलाया, बोला my dear विश्वकर्मा, can you make a beautiful palace for me? So विश्वकर्मा who is the architect of the demigods, जैसे डीमंस का भी एक आर्किटेक्ट है, वो है दिस डीमन मधु, मधु ना, नहीं माया दानव, सॉरी नॉट मधु, माया दानव. So Maya Danav is for demons. Similarly, demigods have this Vishwakarma. So Vishwakarma made a beautiful palace for Indra. When Indra went into the palace, nahi yaar, I mean, this is not really good. I'm not so very happy. He became very disgusted. उसने विश्वकर्मा को खूब डांटा. He was a bit upset on Vishwakarma. He rebuked Vishwakarma. He said some bad words and all those things. Vishwakarma बेचारा रोते रोते ब्रह्मा के पास गया. He said, what, you know, कैसे आदमी के नीचे मेरे को जॉब दे दिया आपने, यू नो दैट फेलो इज सच अ अनग्रेटफुल पर्सन. मैं इतना मेहनत अच्छा अल्ट्राटेक सीमेंट वगैरह यूज करके मैंने बनाया था, बट दैट फेलो वाज नॉट इंटरेस्टेड, दिस दैट सब बहुत रोया. ब्रह्मा सेड नो प्रॉब्लम, आई विल टीच इंद्रा अ लेसन. सो बाय प्रोविडेंस he brought Indra to meet a sage by the name Lomas Rishi. Now this Lomas means hair. Okay, Lomas Rishi means इनके शरीर पे बहुत hair था. His entire body had lot of hair. You know, हमारे तो सिर्फ सर पे होता है, उनका पूरे शरीर पे, मान लो जैसा एक भालू होता है ना वैसा, kind of like that. Okay, and this Indra, Brahma said, you know, I just want to see you, this person, this Lomas Rishi. I've heard a lot of things about this Rishi. Is big vairagi, मतलब बहुत ऐसा वैरागी है. तो इंद्र सेड ऐसा क्या वैराग्य है उसके अंदर, मैं भी देखूं. So Indra saw that this Lomas Rishi was living a very simple life. एक you know ऐसा पेड़ के नीचे बैठ के तपस्या करते थे, कड़ी धूप उसके भी, लेकिन फिर भी पेड़ के सहारे के नीचे बैठ के तपस्या करते थे. इंद्र सेड, my dear sage, you know, you're such a powerful personality. तुम अपनी तपस्या से किसी को भी प्रसन्न कर सकते हो. तो अपने लिए he said, why don't you just make one झोपड़ी actually, you know, कुछ तो एक कुटीर उटीर तो बनाओ ना तुम अपने लिए, so that you can nicely and peacefully stay over there. So Lomas Rishi said, come on Indra, you know, कितना साल जीऊंगा मैं, my life is such a short life, you know, in that short life अभी कौन वो कुटीर बनाए, कौन उसमें जाके रहे. उससे अच्छा I don't want to get only in that झमेला of making, I don't want to waste the time of my life. I have a very short life. I am happy just staying beneath the tree and doing tapasya. Indra said, fine. Indra went back. Brahma ने पूछा क्या हुआ, you spoke something with this guy. He said, yeah, I suggested him you make a kutir. That fellow didn't agree. He said, my life is very short and why should I? So I thought, okay, fine. ये normally ये जो I have seen these people, you know, जो earthly living beings है, इनका life बहुत छोटा रहता है. You know, हमारा तो एक दिन is equivalent to their 1 year. So this fellow, I don't know. Brahma said, अरे, this sage is not an ordinary sage. He has got a special boon from him, from me. So Indra said, what boon? He said, I have given you a boon that as long as the number of hairs that you have on your body, that many Brahma days you will live. अब ब्रह्मा के एक दिन में 14 इंद्र आते हैं, मतलब इंद्र का लाइफ स्पैन खत्म होता है, ऐसे 14 इंद्र आते हैं. एंड ब्रह्मा इज टेलिंग द लाइफ स्पैन ऑफ दिस लोमस ऋषि, उसका एक एक हेयर इज इक्वल टू ब्रह्मा दिस थिंग. तो इंद्र ऐसा बैठ गया सर पे हाथ लगा के, he said, my God, this is the lifespan this fellow has, and in spite of having such a lifespan, he's saying, oh, I have such a small lifespan, why should I waste my time? So that was a big lesson for Indra. What Lomas Rishi was referring his lifespan is in relation to eternality. Bhale uska lifespan might be millions and trillions of years, but that trillions of years is nothing in compared to eternality. And Indra is thinking, and look at me, I, as compared to this Lomas Rishi, my lifespan is nothing. And I am worried about मेरा महल कैसा बना है, उसके ऊपर कौन सा सीमेंट लगेगा, पेंट कौन सा देना है, फर्शी कौन सा लगाना है, and all that thing. That is what Indra is, thought I am worried about. And for us, हमारा लाइफ स्पैन इंद्र के कंपैरिजन में क्या है? एंड स्टिल इन आवर एंटायर लाइफ हम लोग कितना प्लान्स बनाते रहते हैं, राइट? सो the nature of the soul is eternal. Okay, that is the nature of the soul. Okay, but we should understand the soul is trapped in a body. The soul has received a body, and that is what we are right now. ये जो skin, ये जो हड्डी मांस जो हमको मिला है, that we have received. Why we have received such a thing? Because of our karmas and all those things that we are going to discuss in a separate session. There is a very dedicated session for that thing, so we'll discuss that later. But at this point we have received this body, okay, and the soul is sitting in this body for that much finite years, whatever we are going to live in that. But that lifespan is very, very insignificant in compared to eternality, okay? And there is a purpose for that lifespan which we can learn from this sage Lomas Rishi. There is another conversation in Mahabharata, the conversation between Yaksha and Yudhisthira. This Yaksha basically, कहने के लिए Yaksha means one of the Danavas, like, not a demon, but this is a special category of heavenly beings. So he asked Yudhishthira multiple questions. It's a very beautiful conversation, actually. When we are discussing Mahabharata in our Friday sessions, so we will definitely be discussing about this conversation when Yudhishthira Maharaj के बारे में जब हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे. But one of the questions that was asked by Yaksha to Yudhishthira Maharaj was, my dear Yudhishthira, tell me what is the most wonderful thing in this creation? And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the most wonderful thing in this creation is every person sees the other person dying and still he thinks that I am never going to die. And he keeps doing such kind of planning that he is never going to die. That is the most amazing thing Yudhishthira Maharaj said. Matlab, he plans his life as if that he is never going to die. हम लोग कभी-कभी, when we talk about devotion, bhakti to people, many a times people come to us and say, इतनी क्या जल्दी पड़ी है? ये क्या उम्र है भक्ति में आने की? जब बूढ़े हो जाएंगे तब हम लोग भक्ति करेंगे, right? But the point question mark is, what is old age? Is old age the age in which our brain ये सब shrink हो जाएगा, या old age is the time when we are closer to death, right? If you see in terms of definition, old age should be considered as the age in which we are closer to death. But with the uncertainty of death, how do I know that I am not closer to death? I could be dying tomorrow, right? Especially in this last 2 or 3 years with this coronavirus and all this. I mean, we have seen such, I would say, horrible surprises, right? Many of us have lost our dear friends, relatives, sometimes some even family members or near dear ones, right? And none of them even thought that they would have to live the life at that point in time, right? That is the uncertainty of life. So every movement in my life is closer to death. Or it is said in the scripture, with every sunrise and sunset, I am moving one step closer to death, right? So then the uncertainty of death calls for the urgency of doing something special for the soul, or the food for the soul, which is nothing other than devotion, that we will be establishing in one of our sessions. But that is the food for the soul. Okay, but here the point I wanted to establish is, by nature the soul is eternal. Okay, by nature the body is temporary. Why waste your time for something which is temporary. See, it is not that we are saying neglect your body. Okay, please understand that. That's just like a car is an instrument. What is the purpose of a car? The purpose of a car is to take you from point A to point B. There is a journey that you need to travel using the car to reach a particular destination. That is the purpose of that car. So it is very necessary you take care of the car in such a way that the car helps you to move from point A to point B. That is where you want to go, that to achieve your destination, right? If you don't take care of the car, then the car will break somewhere in the middle. So that is why it's necessary to take care of the car. But if I become so busy in taking care of the car कि मैं कार को हिलाऊं ही नहीं, मैं बोलूंगा नहीं 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 मेरी कार रास्ते पे जाएगी तो वो बिगड़ जाएगी, ये हो जाएगी, वो हो जाएगी, I don't move only the car, or I am so engrossed in the car that I'm not ready only to use the car, or I'm just busy in pampering the car. उसको रोज मैं साफ किए जा रहा हूँ, उसका सीट पे ये कर रहा हूँ, सेंट लगा रहा हूँ, वो कर रहा हूँ, but I'm not using the car for that journey purpose, then I have lost the purpose of that car. I have lost the purpose of the car. So we should use the instrument for the purpose the instrument is meant for. Similarly, this body that we have received in this life, okay, is for a specific purpose. Okay, the body is meant for us to move from one destination to another destination, and hopefully a higher destination, right? That choice is ours, how we use this body. If we use the body in a wrong way, then we move to lower destinations. But if we use it in the right way, it helps you to move to a higher destination, right? So take care of the body to that extent where it helps you to move to the higher destination. Don't get engrossed in the body so much that you forget about getting into the higher destination, right? There was this person by the name Mr. John. I like to tell this story many a times, especially in all my device session. I try to talk about this story, Mr. John. We don't have much time, but I'll still talk about this story. Mr. John, he was a he was an American guy, somewhere in the 1970s. Okay, that was the time where Mr. John was living. A very sophisticated businessman. He was going for a business trip. When Mr. John arrived at the airport, at that point in time, Mr. John, he was supposed to fly from New York to Chicago. Okay, so he had taken the flight ticket to fly from New York to Chicago. He arrives at the airport and he tries to check in, and at the check-in counter, the person says that thank you, Mr. John, for traveling with our airlines. However, we apologize to tell you that our flight is, or rather your flight is delayed by 1 hour. So for 1 hour, you will have to wait on the airport. Mr. John by nature is a very busy person. But at that time, there were no laptops or anything. Mr. John always liked to fidget things around. So he thought, how do I spend my 1 hour on this airport? So he started looking around for different things. All of a sudden, if you remember, in the early days at the railway station, we used to have an instrument on the railway station. It used to be like a weighing machine with different bulbs glowing over there. You had to put a coin and then you would get a ticket out from that. A similar machine was installed on the airport of New York. Mr. John saw this machine. He might have seen this machine many a times, but he always was so busy that he never tried out that machine. But today he had all the time in the world. So he thought, let me try out the machine. So he stepped on the machine. And all of a sudden the light started blinking. Mr. John puts a coin over there, insert a coin, whatever, 25 cents or something. He just inserts the coin over there. And the bulbs move. There is a disc that rotates, and then all of a sudden he hears a ticket coming out. He removes the ticket and he looks at the ticket, and the ticket mentions, welcome, Mr. John. Your weight is 100 and whatever, 20, 40, 160 pounds, whatever it is, 160 pounds, let's assume that. And you are traveling from New York to Chicago. So Mr. John thought, wow, this is amazing. So as far as weight is concerned, he said, that's okay. I mean, you tell me my weight because I'm standing over here, so you're weighing it. But how do you know that I'm Mr. John? And how do you know I'm traveling from New York to Chicago? That's interesting, he thought. Then he thought, is it that all the tickets by chance just have Mr. John as the name? And by chance, just because this machine is installed in front of this counter, probably all the tickets have New York to Chicago. So he thought, let me try out the thing, So what he did is he um, he stood down and he allowed some other person, okay, and he watched that person and he saw that he got a different ticket. So Mr. John thought that either it was just by fluke that I got the ticket of Mr. John and this person got some other ticket. So he again stands over there and he again puts the coin and again the ticket comes out and it says that, welcome, Mr. John. Your weight is 160 pounds and you're traveling from New York to Chicago. And he's like, wow, how do I always get the Mr. John ticket? So he thought might be someone is looking from some hidden camera or something. So then what he does is he goes into the restroom over there. And in the restroom, he completely changes his, attire. Now that same Mr. John who was, who was traveling with a suit and a tie and all those things, he wears a hat and he puts on goggle and he puts like a vacation shirt, that kind of stuff with Bermuda and all that thing. A completely different looking Mr. John, and that Mr. John, he goes and again stands on that counter and he again puts the coin and again the bulbs glow and the ticket comes out and it says, welcome, Mr. John, your weight is 160 pounds. You're traveling from New York to Chicago. And at the bottom it said, you just missed your flight. And that's interesting. Mr. John, the purpose for which Mr. John came to the airport was not to understand how this machine works, but the purpose was to go to New York, to go to Chicago from New York. But while trying to fly from New York to Chicago, he just came across this machine, which he found interesting. And he got so involved in that machine that he forgot that there is a flight that he has to catch, and that flight he missed, right? Similarly, we have accepted this body for a specific purpose, okay, to move to higher regions. But even on this earthly planet, there are so many machines that we have all around, So for Mr. John, there were beautiful bulbs and the wheel and all that thing. We have these different machines in terms of family and achievements and, luxury of life and, so many things, in life. And sometimes we get so involved in all that thing that we forget the purpose or the goal of our life. And we should make sure that we don't miss on that, okay? So that is very, very important. So until now, we talked about who am I? Am I the body or am I the soul? The body is dead matter. The soul is living, right? It is the presence of the soul that brings in value to the body. Okay, if the soul is not there, there is no value to that body. The beautiful hair, the beauty, everything exists just because there is a soul. Otherwise, it has no value. This soul has a nature, and one of the nature is eternality. And that is why, we should think about the soul also, because that is the most important. The soul is eternal. The body is going to last only for whatever maximum 100 years. Okay. So rather than spending all the 24 hours in the day just for the body, we should also try to feed the soul, because the soul also needs some food, because the soul has a journey to travel. Okay. So this is the point till which we discuss. Our discussion is still not complete. It's getting a little bit more interesting now. Now, the next question obviously comes is, I mean, you talk about this soul, and we talked about the body. That fine, we understand that, there is something within the body. Okay, but how do we understand that it is the soul? Okay, how can you scientifically, or what are the different ways in which you can prove to me that the soul exists? And if the soul exists, how can I feel the presence of the soul? Okay, now these are some of the questions that one can have. Now these are the questions that we want to cover further. However, we can't do it now. Actually, I wanted to cover it. We can't do it now, but we will take it up in our next sessions. Okay, we will stop right now over here. So whatever we discussed till now, do you have any questions? Because the next session that we will be discussing, I'll let you know about it. One is we will be talking about how do I understand the presence of soul scientifically, okay, or through different theories. Second, how do I feel the presence of the soul? Third, where does the soul exist in my body? Fourth, पुनर्जन्म सत्य है क्या? Is reincarnation true or false? Okay, and fifth, we are also going to talk in our next session about mind, intelligence, and ego. Okay, just like the soul, just like you cannot see the soul, right? कोई अगर बोला कि जाके एक्सरे में देख के आओ तुम्हारा सोल ठीक है, हेल्दी है या नहीं है, तो ऐसा कोई मशीन आज तक बना नहीं है which can scan the soul, right? So someone might say, then what you're talking about soul, जब दिखता ही नहीं है तो कौन से सोल की बात कर रहे हो? But neither does your intelligence is visible, right? Intelligence भी कहाँ दिखता है, और mind भी कहाँ दिखता है? We talk about, I've lost my mind, I want to focus my mind, you know I want to control my mind. किधर है माइंड? किधर है? कौन से स्कैनर में दिखता है माइंड, या कौन से स्कैनर में इंटेलिजेंस दिखता है, राइट? या और ये बंदा बहुत ईगोइस्टिक है, माय ईगो इज हर्ट. मतलब क्या हर्ट? किधर हर्ट हो गया है? व्हिच पार्ट ऑफ योर बॉडी इज ब्लीडिंग? You can't even see the ego, you can't see the mind, you can't see the intelligence, but then they exist. So where do they exist? How do they exist? What are they? What is their nature? So all these things we are going to cover in our next session. Okay, it's going to be interesting. Actually, we'll cover all those things in our next session. Any questions, of whatever we discussed till now? Anyone has any questions, doubts, comments? One more thing that we are going to do is I have requested Navneet to create a Google form. Okay, so he will share the link with all of you. What you can also do is, you can also post your questions over there. So if you post your question on that Google form, we will scan through the questions, and during the week itself, we will try to answer the questions, and we will post our answers or recordings on our group chat on WhatsApp, so that we can address those. Sometimes we don't get questions immediately, but we get questions all of a sudden खाना खाते समय या घूमते समय कि अरे ये बोला था, ये ऐसा कुछ बात किया था, but I don't know, ये I have a doubt question. You get a question. So no problem, that link will be available for you. Just go ahead and post your question on that Google form also, and we will try to address that question as well. So if you don't have a question right away, but if you have right away, please, we can get discuss about it right now.
Prabhuji, the very interesting part that was in the beginning, that how you shared or presented that happens, our body is nothing without a soul.
Correct.
So
it has no value, absolutely no value. And you can see that in the behavior. Like I when I heard that incident about the hair of
right,
falling in the food, no matter how beautiful that hair is, you're not going to, जब बीवी सर के ऊपर से कंघी घुमाती है, हम लोग वो कंघी में अटके हुए बाल सुवेनियर की तरह लेते नहीं है कि अरे आई विल कीप दिस ब्यूटीफुल हेयर एज अ टोकन, we say फेंक दो उसको कचरे के डब्बे में. You know, the same hair which we are praising, the same hair we say that अभी निकल गया सर से तो फेंक दो उसको, it has no value. Yeah. So your value is only till the point, rather anything related to the body has value only till the soul is connected to the body. The moment the soul moves of the body has no, then uska value 1800 रुपया हो जाता है. वो 1800 रुपया we discuss ना, that is in absence of soul. But when the soul is present in that body, then you are ready to spend millions.
Yeah, means particularly that point means where you actually mentioned that our body is worth rupees 1800.
Correct.
Without a soul.
Correct.
So that very well explained the point, I think.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay, anyone else has any points, comments, queries? Okay, then we can close the session for now. Thank you everyone for your time. And if you get any queries, I mean, feel free. That Navneet Prabhu, you will put that link on WhatsApp group. Yeah. Okay. So you can go to that link. If you have any questions, just put your questions over there. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for time.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare